Hi, everyone. My name is Minaa B, and today I'm going to be sharing a poem with you called Not One More Weekend. Please, not one more day, not one more night, not one more weekend. That was my cry, my plea to the God that I was told was fixated within the universe. I no longer wanted this body to be my home. I no longer wanted to be housed in this skin, covered by flesh that I sliced and snipped at, begging to be saved, begging to be loved, begging to be whole. All those days, all those nights, all those weekends, a constant loop of pain that felt like it would never dissipate. But why me? This isn't supposed to happen to girls like me, I thought. The pictures on the pamphlets and the images on my TV tell me that brown girls don't struggle with depression. This illness is only painted on white bodies. Brown girls are supposed to be strong. We are supposed to know how to endure the lash and the whips of pain and struggle and strife. Brown girls carry the world on their shoulders. They are not allowed to bend and break. They are not allowed to cry tears and taste them on their lips. They are not allowed to be depressed, to be anxious, to be thin, to be thick, to be wise, to be dumb, to be hard, to be soft. So I stayed silent. I'd knot my tongue in my mouth, hoping I wouldn't utter a word, or else I feared I would break and be exposed. Exposing that I am a liar, that I feel forced to pretend, that I played dress up with personality traits over and over again, trying to find the right disguise for every occasion. I became a magician. No one knew my tricks. Until she knew. Until she saw those tally marks on my arm. Until she saw the pain across my face when I was exposed. Until she asked me, why do you suffer alone? And it was then, and even now, that I am reminded that alone is not where home is. Alone is not where I will be released from deep suffering. Alone is not how Black girls like me will get the help that we need. It is in the us, in the we, in the help, in community. That suffering no longer has a stronghold. Help, support, and recovery does not see race. It does not see class. It does not see citizenship. It does not see gender. What it does see, however, is your humanity. It is in the help, in the care of our communities, in the opening of our mouths and the untying of our tongues that we are able to fill every pamphlet we see, along with the screens on our TV, with the faces of people who look like me, who look like you, who look like us. It is when we break the rules and ask for permission to be seen, to be heard, and to be helped, that we no longer have to suffer, not one more night, not one more day, not one more weekend.
Hi, I'm Elisa Donovan, and to me, not one more means not one more moment for one more person where their livelihood, their joy, their expression, their creativity, their relationships, their health is taken away by this insidious disease, because those are all of the things that it took away from me. And I am extraordinarily grateful for the recovery that I have. And I wish that for everyone struggling.
Not one more is so powerful. It is all encompassing. Not one more lost minute, lost life, lost moment of joy, person feeling isolated and abandoned, feeling worthless. Not one more minute of pain.
Not one more person who cannot have access to care. Not one more day that someone has to feel so isolated and alone. And not one more person who has to lose their life to an eating disorder.
We will continue to stand together and fight until not one more life is lost to an eating disorder.
Not one more smile, not one more laugh, not one more special moment, and especially not one more life is stolen by an eating disorder.
Not one more family feeling like they caused their loved one's eating disorder.
Not one more person living in isolation or shame when it comes to their chronic illness journey.
Breaking down the walls of injustice, allowing our families and friends to heal from the trauma that we are experiencing now and in the past, and having the courage as individuals to heal and recover and do better.
Not one more person feels like they aren't thick enough to receive help or isn't believed because of the identities they hold. Not one more person should suffer because they aren't believed.
Not one more individual with an eating disorder suffering in silence. And not one more family trying to navigate this journey alone without support. Too many lives are lost to this disease.
Not one more human will believe the lie that they are not worthy, they are not enough, or they do not deserve full recovery from their eating disorder.
Not one more child having to grow up, watch someone they love struggle with an eating disorder.
At Center for Discovery, Not One More means making a commitment to building safe and inclusive spaces so that all of our patients can access their path to recovery.
Not one more person has to miss out on this amazing, beautiful, and joyful journey that we call life due to their eating disorder.
Not one more time that we hear our nation's leaders tell us eating disorders are not a priority.
Not one more loss to the belief that a number on the scale defines our worth.
No person suffering with an eating disorder or affected by an eating disorder should have to go without appropriate treatment due to insurance barriers.
Not one more life lost to an illness that's treatable with the right care. Not one more insurance denial because someone doesn't meet criteria. And not one more human believing recovery is not possible for them because it's not only possible, it's already happening.
Not one more person who doesn't get help, who doesn't get healing, who doesn't get support, whether that means because they have an eating disorder or because they just have a difficult relationship with food and body like so much of our society does. Everyone deserves care.
Not one more individual unable to access treatment for their eating disorder due to insurance or financial barriers.
Not one more healthcare professional failing to be trained on how to recognize, diagnose, and treat eating disorders.
Not one more person going without the resources that they need in a time of crisis.
Not one more person has to feel alone in these illnesses. Not one more person struggling with an eating disorder, not one more family member, not one more friend, because there is hope and help and support out there for you.
You're not alone in this fight. When we use our voices, when we build community, we can make it so that not one more person has to suffer in silence.
Eating disorders are an injustice. Eating disorders are something we all need to fight, and we all need to unify to do it together. It's time for not one more day.
Not one more person deemed not sick enough, and not one more story deemed not neat enough. It means telling every person that they are enough, and that the messy threads of our stories are what tie us together.
Not one more individual having to jump through hurdles to find an appropriate, specialized, trained eating disorder treatment team.
Not one more senator or member of Congress is without the vital facts they need, or for that matter, the courage they may require to dismantle barriers to eating disorders care for everyone who stands in need.
Not one more minute, day, hour, weeks, years, feeling alone and thinking that you will never fully recover from this eating disorder.
Not one more.
Not one more.
Not one more.
Not one more.
Not one more moment lost to this insidious disease.
Welcome to the Not One More Rally for Recovery. I am McCall Dempsey, and I am the founder and director of Southern Smash. We are a proud initiative and program under the Alliance for Eating Disorders Awareness. We are so thrilled to have each and every one of you join us on this National Day of Recovery. We have to thank our amazing sponsors, the Sadler family, Center for Discovery, and iWay, along with all of our sponsors and partners for making this inaugural Not One More weekend possible. Not one more. 3 simple yet powerful words that often mean something different for each of us. To me, not one more means not one more person suffering in shame and in silence. We have an incredible lineup of inspirational speakers and stories of hope and recovery for you this evening. We are so thrilled for you to be here, and we hope tonight leaves you remembering that you are worthy and that recovery is possible and it's happening. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Patrick Devenny, and I'm honored to be here today. The concept of not one more means to me that not one more male struggles in isolation with this thing we call eating disorders. My story is really the concept of someone that seemed to have achieved a lot in his life, but it also led to a lot of transition and loss of identity. And through that, and through the passing of my mom, I really started to kind of find myself struggling with food. And as I looked around, I never knew that a male could actually struggle with an eating disorder. It was kind of this internal hell that I went through on a day in and day out basis. And as I stepped back, I had the opportunity to play for Seattle Seahawks just for a cup of coffee, but it was kind of my childhood dream. And stepping out of that, really became obsessed with body image, working out, and my diet. And unfortunately, a lot of people applauded me for how rigid and structured and kind of the body image I was portraying. However, what it really led to was a lot of isolation, depression, and suicidal thoughts. As soon as I started to kind of realize that males can suffer from this thing called eating disorders, I quickly looked up and I realized there was nobody else, no other male talking about it. And then looking around and seeing a lot of the marketing and care at the time that was out there was very, very segmented towards women, which kind of left me with the head scratcher of like, it says I can struggle with this eating disorder. However, no one's really talking about it. So for me, it became a major priority to just speak out about it and say that we all struggle with our own issues, and whether that's alcohol, drugs, or food and excessive working out or any of that kind of stuff, that we all have our own journey. And unfortunately, this thing called eating disorders is something that is often overlooked. I want to say that, and am a firm advocate of the fact that overcoming an eating disorder is truly possible. I did it. It took a lot of hard work. The path was not straight and easy to success. It was a lot of ups and downs. And I always like to say it was more of a marathon than it was a sprint. However, now here I am, and I can say I'm on the other side of the eating disorder. And I wish I would have really kind of dove into it sooner than I did, because I think I made the journey longer than it needed to be. But here I am today. Just want to make an emphasis that not one more male needs to suffer with this thing called an eating disorder. And it is normal. A lot of people suffer with it, and recovery is possible.
Hi, my name is Liz Mata. I am a Florida licensed mental health counselor and the Director of Education and Resources at the Alliance for Eating Disorders Awareness. Not one more means to me not one more individual unable to access treatment for their eating disorder due to insurance barriers, financial barriers, or just not having the support they need in navigating how to get connected to care. So a big part of my role at the Alliance is helping people connect to eating disorder resources nationwide, or really wherever they are. So the referral process at the Alliance is a little different from what you may have found elsewhere. You can call the Alliance at 866-662-1235 and speak to a licensed therapist that works with eating disorders to really help you figure out what you need at this point in time in your recovery. Or if you're a loved one, to listen to what's going on in your life and with your loved one and figure out what supports will best meet their needs and also your needs. So we ensure that you're connected to care. If there are limited providers in your area, or if you're having trouble finding the best program, we'll make sure to provide you with as many resources as you need so you get the eating disorder treatment you deserve. Please give us a call and know that we're always here and that you are so deserving of living a life fully in recovery. Thank you so much for joining us today and for all of your support. We're so excited to have you here, and enjoy the rest of the rally.
Hi, my name is Julissa Minaya, and I'm a 16-year-old activist and eating disorder survivor from Dallas, Texas. A big passion of mine is spreading awareness about people of color struggling with eating disorders, in addition to other groups of people that are underrepresented in the recovery community. As a woman of color, I understand from a personal standpoint the lack of representation within this community. This was one of the biggest reasons why I didn't speak up sooner about my struggles. I never imagined I would be here today sharing my story. So thank you to the Alliance team and Joanna for seeing something inside of me and having me here today. I'm so honored and I'm so grateful. My disordered eating and eating disorder story began at the young age of 10. As a young girl of color in a predominantly white area, I felt the need to conform to whiteness. Since I couldn't actually be white, I decided that I could be thin and that I was going to be thin. In my mind, thinness was the next best thing to whiteness. Now I'm able to look back at that young girl and recognize that being thin and white wasn't what I truly wanted. What I truly wanted was to feel loved. I truly wanted to be seen, and I truly wanted to belong. I'm almost 1 year into my activism and my recovery, and now I'm starting to feel loved. I'm starting to feel seen, and I'm starting to feel as if I belong. These are all things that recovery has brought me, not things my eating disorder brought me. I do not want one more young girl of color feeling as if they're not enough. I do not want one more young girl of color wishing they were white. I do not want one more young girl of color to spend more years hating herself than she does loving herself. That is why I'm here today, sharing my story and offering you some hope. Recovery is possible. Feeling like you belong is possible. Finding joy again is possible. And being free from your eating disorder is possible.
Hi, my name's Gordon Spear. 9+ years ago, our son Joe started his battle with eating disorder. I will never forget how helpless I felt as a father, trying to find treatment and support for Joe. The doctors and hospitals in our area just are not trained for eating disorders. We actually had a doctor tell us in front of Joe, he can't possibly have an eating disorder, he's a male. So we ended up taking him out to the West Coast for treatment. Unfortunately, in November of 2014, Joe lost his battle with his eating disorder. At that point, Deanna and I made it our mission to do what we could to provide support and resources for those battling this terrible disease. So not one more family has to go through what we went through back in 2014. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kitty Westin, and I am really happy to be here today to be addressing this virtual conference for the Alliance for Eating Disorder Awareness. I am from Minnesota, and I have been working in the eating disorder field for the last 21 years. So I have been thinking a lot about what not one more means to me. And what it really means is not one more amazing, bright young person has to take a break from college in order to get treatment for an eating disorder like my daughter Anna did in August 1999. It means not one more person who desperately needs treatment being told by their insurance company that they cannot access the care that would save their lives, which is what happened to Anna in September of 1999. It means not one more person having to leave treatment prematurely because she's worried about the cost and believes that her family would be better off if she were dead, something that Anna told her sister in December of 1999. It means not one more mother having to find their precious daughter unconscious on the floor of her bedroom, struggling to breathe, like I found Anna on February 17th, 2000. It means not one more family finding themselves at a funeral home trying to write an obituary for a 21-year-old, which is what happened with Mark and I on February 18th, 2000. And it means not one more family has to bury their beloved daughter like Mark and I had to do on February 22nd, 2000. Nobody should suffer like Anna did, and no parent should have to plan a funeral for a child that died of an eating disorder. The pain of Anna's death will never leave me, and I can honestly say that I have found a way to live with that loss. After Anna died, our family really had no idea how we'd find a way to put back the pieces that were just blown to smithereens and into some kind of a semblance of order. And honestly, there were many times that I doubted that we'd ever be able to do that and find a way to put us back together. And what helped me the most was the support of people in my life who knew that I had to find a way to crawl out of the pit and do something, really anything. And I had people that encouraged me to use my voice, use my energy, use my passion, and use the horror of Anna's death and channel the grief into something positive. So I was encouraged to take my story to Washington, D.C., and to tell it to Congress in the hope that there could be changes made in the way the United States approaches prevention, education, treatment, and support for people struggling with eating disorders. The results of this effort is passage of the Anna Westin Act in 2016, groundbreaking federal legislation that improved access to care for all levels of eating disorders and provided millions of dollars to train healthcare professionals and others about eating disorders. We could never have accomplished this without the help of grassroots activists from around the country and many from Florida, and without the help of Florida Representative Ted Deutsch and Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, who we're forever indebted to. So honestly, some days, 21 years seems like a really long time, and sometimes it feels like no time at all. There's been progress made, and I'm proud of whatever part I've played in bringing about changes to help people with eating disorders. There's still so much to be done, and organizations like the Alliance for Eating Disorder Awareness are doing the hard work necessary to prevent one more tragedy like Anna. Your participation in this weekend event and your support of the Alliance are what encourages me today. There's so much more to do, and you are doing it by offering your time, your energy, and your financial support. Am I impatient? Yes, of course I am. It breaks my heart every time I hear about a person in a battle with an insurance company to get eating disorder treatment. It breaks my heart every time I hear about a person being diagnosed with an eating disorder and know that our toxic culture of thinness has contributed to that diagnosis. It breaks my heart to listen to people who think eating disorders are behavior problems or choices and can't accept that eating disorders are serious mental health issues. And it breaks my heart when I get a call from a family member or a support person asking me to reach out to another family who has just lost a beloved son and daughter, wife or husband, mother or father or friend to an eating disorder. But what gives me hope is that you're here today. You care and you are stepping up to help make our world a place where eating disorders no longer rob people of their hopes and dreams and even their lives. I want to thank my dear friend Joanna Candell, who has done more than anyone I know to stamp out eating disorders. And I want to thank each of you who are here. I wish I could meet you in person and we could laugh and cry together as we put all our energy into working to eliminate eating disorders. So I want to leave you today with some words that Anna left for me. I believe that she knew she would not survive the monster that was ravaging her mind and her body, and that she wanted me and us to continue the fight for her and for the millions of people who are affected by eating disorders. Shortly before Anna died, she wrote these philosophical words in her journal. All that's been done and said crowd through your mind, and a challenge begins. May all your love, your joy, your pain, all your fears and desires lead you to your own promises. May your dreaming never end and your voice never die. Thank you. Please stay safe and have a wonderful virtual conference.
The first time I put on a Not One More t-shirt, I could only think about how we lost Jen. But now I view Not One More as a message of hope. It's a rallying cry that helps me fight in Jen's memory every day.
Hello, my name is Joanna Candell, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Alliance for Eating Disorders Awareness. I am overwhelmed and so thrilled to be joining you today for our first Rally for Recovery during our inaugural Not One More weekend. Thank you so much for showing up and being part of this movement. I really want to thank each and every one of you for your support, for your generosity, for your fundraising. Every dollar raised during Not One More weekend will directly fund our free weekly therapist-led support groups. Almost 10,000 of you joined our groups last year, and we look forward to welcoming many, many more this year. You know, many folks have asked me, why Not One More? What does Not One More mean to you? Well, the story behind Not One More is I was sitting in a meeting and I had just heard that another human that had bravely walked this journey had died as a direct result of their eating disorder. I was so completely overwhelmed. And I had this moment when I turned to a dear colleague of mine and I said, I can't take this anymore. We cannot lose one more life, not one more moment lost to this insidious disease, not one more childhood lost, not one more moment stolen, not one more parent burying their child, not one more spouse having to endure financial hardship to get their loved one in treatment. So I ask all of you, please join us. Not One More is going to last far beyond today or this weekend. Please continue to join us as we make it our mission so that not one more moment is stolen. And if you are unfamiliar with the Alliance, we are a national nonprofit organization dedicated to the outreach, education, early intervention, support, and advocacy for all humans that are experiencing eating disorders. We are an organization for everyone. And now it is my total and complete honor and pleasure to award Hunter McGrady with the Inclusivity Award. Hunter is a model, an activist, a fashion designer, and above all, someone who has walked this walk, who has been on the journey to recovery and using her platform to make a difference. I am so excited that just this past week, she had joined our brand new Alliance Collaborative, and I am so humbled to welcome Hunter McGrady. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for everything you are. And thank you for showing that eating disorders, recovery, do not come in one shape, size, color, sex. That although eating disorders do not discriminate, neither does recovery. Thank you all so much for being here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the program.
I just want to say thank you so much for this incredible honor of being recognized in this way. It is not something I take lightly and am forever grateful for. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Hunter McGrady. I am a model, designer, and body positive advocate. I grew up right outside of Los Angeles to a model mother and an actor father. I was always really enthralled with wanting to be a model. So I got into modeling at 16 years old in what we call in the industry a straight size model, which is basically the models that you see day to day. I went into plenty of agencies and got told no every single time. I was told I was not enough, that I needed to change, and I needed to be different. From around ages 16 to 18, I struggled with keeping my body at the size that was acceptable at that time to be a model. I struggled with eating, certain deficits, but most importantly, I struggled with my self-worth. I struggled with who I was looking at in the mirror, and I decided one day that I wanted out of these chains that were holding me back from being my best self. So I sought out therapy. I was then told some of the best advice that I've ever received from anybody in my entire life, and I hold true to this day. My therapist said, Hunter, I want you to do an exercise for me. I want you to take a shower. And when you get out, I want you to slick your hair back and look at yourself in the mirror, completely naked, no makeup on, in your most raw and vulnerable self. I want you to tell yourself in your eyes 10 things that you want to love about yourself. I thought this really sounded silly, but I went home and I did it. I found myself in tears because it was such an eye-opening and scary and beautiful and raw experience for me. I've been doing this for the last 12 years, and the things that I used to want to love about myself have now become things that I do love about myself because affirmations work. I started accepting my larger stature, my stretch marks, my cellulite, the scars I had on my body, my hips that used to be my biggest insecurity. Our brain is truly wired to believe what we tell it. I became a plus size model at 19 years old, and my entire world was turned upside down in the best way possible. I was able to do something that I loved in a body that was mine and that I was learning to love. You know, I always say confidence is not linear. You don't wake up and become confident. It's just not how it works. It's a journey. It's bumpy, it's treacherous, it's scary, it's terrifying, but it's absolutely beautiful and rewarding. My entire platform is the importance of inclusivity, diversity, body love, and most importantly, representation. We must see ourselves represented in media, just as we walk in a world full of diverse and wonderful people. Body positivity to me means loving your body regardless of what society tells you. Learning to accept who you are, knowing not only what your body looks like, but what it does for you. Loving the aspects of it that society deems imperfect. Those stretch marks, cellulite, acne, scarring, whatever it is. We must get to a place where we are not ashamed to be who we are, not afraid to speak our truth, not held back by the gatekeepers, the experts, the naysayers, the uninformed, and the unenlightened. I'm here to remind you that we all have a body that sits differently than others, but we are so blinded and yet driven by social media and what the perfect body looks like. I've tried in more ways than one to change my body. I've battled an industry that tells me my body isn't good enough. Even in the plus size world, I get told to change. Today, I challenge you to be bold, fearless. Tell yourself you love yourself. Tell yourself it's going to be a good day. Step out in faith, knowing that day by day, the chains that have held you back for so long are being unshackled. This crusade is so powerful, so challenging, and so very needed right now. The current misguided and blindly accepted narrative must be challenged and ultimately changed. To open a magazine and see a woman who we can all relate to see women of all color and sizes in beauty ads, groundbreaking, it's controversial in the best way possible. I'll leave you with this, one of my favorite quotes of all time. Watch your thoughts for they become words. Watch your words for they become actions. Watch your actions for they become habits. And watch your habits for they become character. Watch your character for it becomes your destiny. Thank you so much for this incredible honor. I am so beyond grateful, and I'm sending love to you all.
Hi, I'm Takesha Jackson, and I am going to give an original piece inspired by all the warriors out there fighting with eating disorders. Life without hardships? Well, that's not something that anyone can promise you. There will surely be times that you don't know what to do. It seems that no matter how well you plan for the best of days, life has its own twists, turns, and unpredictable ways. No one can map out every single venture or space. It's like a marathon, and the only way to get through it is to stay in the race. Yet as uncertain as this journey can be, there's an abundance of hope for you and me. Storms don't last forever, no matter how strong the winds or how abundant the rain. Tears don't flow forever, no matter how much sorrow or how great the pain. The sun will indeed shine and the winds will cease, and there will be joy for any sorrow. And in the place of turmoil, you'll have an indescribable peace. No matter what comes, never forget that you're destined to make it through. And even when others doubt, don't you give up on you. Life is full of challenges, but no matter what it brings, always remember that you, me, we can do hard things. Thank you.
Not one more. Not one more insurance company denying treatment to outcome. Not one more healthcare professional failing to be trained on how to recognize, diagnose, and treat eating disorders. Not one more family feeling like they caused their loved one's eating disorder. Not one more 4-year-old being diagnosed with anorexia. Not one more male being dismissed because males don't get eating disorders. Not one more individual experiencing an eating disorder and seeking treatment for decades because they're not sick enough. Not one more person experiencing stigma, shame, and feeling like they were a mistake or they're unworthy of treatment. Not one more life being stolen and lost to an illness that is treatable due to failure of diagnosis, failure of insurance coverage, failure to intervene, and failure to receive life-saving treatment to outcome. Not one more person in our society believing that eating disorders are a choice. Not one more.
Hi, my name is Lisa Morano, and I'm the Donor Relations Manager at the Alliance for Eating Disorders Awareness. Thank you all so much for all of the amazing fundraising and support you've given us for our inaugural Not One More weekend. All of the funds that you've been raising are going to help fund our free therapist-led virtual support groups across the nation. The Alliance is the only national organization to offer free therapist-led virtual support groups, and last year, over 9,300 of you tuned in to an Alliance support group. Because of your fundraising, we're able to continue providing free weekly therapist-led support groups to family members, to individuals, to everyone who needs that extra support finding their path to recovery. We're so grateful for all the amazing fundraising that you all have been doing. You're really making a tangible difference in communities all across the nation. We're going to be calculating who the top fundraisers are throughout the program, so please be sure to tune into Facebook, where we'll be announcing the winners live at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Next, I'd like to hand it over to Jasmin Rhia, who is an amazing activist and musician. Thanks so much for your support of the Alliance's Not One More weekend.
Seeking you shall